I was in a new town with no friends and no family. I got to the point where I was driving somewhere and I said out loud in my car even, "There is no God. This is so miserable. There's no way there's a God." I moved to Carroll about 8 years ago. I was engaged at the time, and eventually that engagement was broken. I was raised Christian, and then some situations in my life kind of led me away from God for a while. That was the time where I felt really hopeless, and I didn't want to be around people. I felt like I was going to be going to work, coming home, and that was my life. At one point, I went to a counselor, and one of the things we discussed was that you need people in your life, and I fought with him and said, "No, you don't. You know, I'm fine sitting in my house by myself. I don't need anybody." One Saturday, I was sitting in the living room reading, and I had my Bible out and was reading some of these verses, and I just prayed and said, "God, I don't know how to do this. You've got to come help me, because I just don't know how to change things." It was about 2 hours later that there was a knock on the door.
The reason Carroll first kind of wanted to get into going home to home was we just felt like one of our mission statements as a church was connecting people to Christ, which goes along with that Great Commission very well. So it was taking that into the community.
Pastor must have been the one that created a map of Carroll and put it in different segments. We went to a neighborhood just south of the railroad tracks that, you know, I've driven past there before, but I really honestly didn't know anyone that lived over there. We were kind of getting done. We were kind of getting tired. We'd had a lot of people say, "No, no, thank you." And I think we looked across the street and I'm like, "Let's do one more."
I opened the door and was this couple and their 4 kids. They said to me, "We're just going door to door, meeting our neighbors, and just wonder if there's anything that we can pray with you about."
She kind of peeked out. She didn't even move all the way out the door or anything, so I could tell she was a little intimidated.
You know, I thought for a minute and said to them, "No, I don't think so, but thank you." And, you know, kindly sent them out on their way. And about 10 minutes later, you know, I started thinking, you just prayed, "God, come help me figure this out." And somebody came and knocked at your door. That doesn't happen. It was as if God knocked on my door and said, "I heard you. I'm here." I knew that I needed to get involved with people and get out of my house. So I knew where I needed to go was church. So church is just down this road and over. I was looking for a contemporary church, and I'd heard that this church had music and drums and things like that. And I walked in and there was already singing, and I felt God was there immediately. You just could feel it. Like the song says, I felt heaven falling in this place. The neat thing is when I went to this church and just felt like home, and it was a couple months later that I realized that Brent and Dayon were in that church.
When we heard Kelly's testimony at church, I remember just thinking, wow, she really was going through a troubled time, and I was thankful that God had just placed us at the right time, right at her doorstep. For whatever reason, you know, she didn't accept prayer, but she found her way to the church, and she's even serving in church, which is amazing and awesome.
I'm on the worship team. I play the bass for the worship team, and I'm in a Bible study on Wednesday nights, and some of the most genuine Christian women you'll ever meet.
You don't know what part you're going to have in someone's salvation story, whether you're going to be the one planting a seed, whether you're going to be the one helping to grow the seed. We need just the obedience and going through with this out of love for God and love for our neighbors. It really proved God was just faithful through the whole thing.
The worst they can do is say no and close the door. But even if they do say no and close the door, you don't know how that impacts them behind that closed door.